DDG presents the Video Game Award recap. My name is Dave. I'm joined by Michael.
Dave, this was supposed to be 2:37. Things happened. Technology broke. But here we are, super late night.
Yeah. I think it was the video game world telling us that we were sitting to record last night.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, news is light because the Game Awards are happening. Maybe you should cover the Game Awards. So here we are. I'm consumed by darkness behind me. I realize, and I'm wearing all black, so that's fun for the people watching on Twitch.
Oh, you're fine. I can see you. So
yeah, but Dave, you sat through probably the most you've ever sat through a Game Awards show, like ever.
Well, partially because the football game that was on tonight was really boring. So
I don't even know who's playing.
Yes,
it's fine.
The Rams and the 49ers. So
okay.
But no, I mean, I knew that there was enough stuff there. I don't know. It felt a little different going into this year than it had in previous years. I mean, they were kind of hyping up the 10th anniversary, so that was like a lot of Keighley being Keighley. But for some reason, some stuff just felt a little different this year. Maybe that's because E3 has pretty much gone away and people are now accepting the Game Awards as kind of the norm. We don't have a PSX anymore, and I think that everybody else was kind of realizing that, you know, I think consistency is the key. And with him being around for 10 years, they're like, okay, if we want to get anything announced in the year 2024, this is going to be the platform that we get to do it to end our year on, because there's nothing else.
Yeah, and also this was like the first year in a long time that Keighley didn't say lower your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
The last like 2-3 years, basically since the pandemic, Keighley has always been like, hold on now.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be anything crazy. And I think this year he said there's going to be 2 holy shit moments. And I'd say there's like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like, oh shit, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
I would agree. And I think you've watched significantly more of Keighley's hosting than I have. And I don't want to start like necessarily on a sour note, but I think we've talked about this before, but he needs to relinquish hosting.
I think this year was a little bit better than previous years.
Okay.
Because
I don't mind him being on there and like in tidbits of stuff, but I think he needs to have somebody. If you can, it's getting to the point. If he can get Snoop Dogg to appear on his stage, he could probably get some type of celebrity MC style person, I think.
Yeah, but that's what they used to be when they were the Spike Awards.
Okay.
You know, they would have.
I know, but there's enough. I don't
celebrities.
even know who. Like, I mean, at this point in time, like, I know you might not be a big a fan of him, but like even somebody like Kevin Hart, something to make it move a little. No, but I mean, like that, like something.
I feel like if they were to do that, it would end up being streamers who are honestly more famous than some celebrities.
I guess maybe at this point I probably would have rather seen Troy Baker more often or something like that. I don't know if he has the
something about him bothers me.
I know, but I don't even know if he has the personality to do it. Nolan North, you know, like somebody that maybe is like high in the video game.
Well, I forget what her name. He has a co-host who pops up from time to time.
Yeah, but she did the pre-show, like the 7:30 to 8 thing.
And she popped up a couple times during the show. She's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like if they could give some more of the duty to her, I think that wouldn't be like the worst thing. I would say Keighley was really effective this year because when there was a big trailer, he showed emotion.
Yeah.
Like his voice trembled. He looked like he was going to cry a couple times. Sometimes I feel like it bamboozled us to where like the announcement that happened, I was like, was that worth crying about? But other announcement, it feels like, okay, this dude's passionate about the thing he's about to announce and reveal. And not just we heard how much it costs to get a trailer.
I don't know. Maybe an athlete that we know loves video games or something. Like I don't know the answer, but I just think it can't be 90% Keighley anymore. That's all.
Yeah, I it's one of those things where they've experimented so much with like the celebrity stuff, and I just don't think anyone has come across as genuine.
Yeah, no.
Anytime they tried it, so I don't mind Keighley being there, and I feel like there's enough differences going on, and he isn't taking as much time as he used to take.
Right.
Like I did appreciate.
I didn't see pacing issues this year. Like I mean, like I've heard about pacing issues. It seemed like the speeches were fine. I don't think anybody was really rushed. It didn't appear that way. The only one that looked, I mean, I don't want to, like, Harrison Ford got lost, I think, for a second.
But Harrison Ford, like,
he's old.
Has not given a shit about a lot of things. I was surprised they got him to read.
Yeah, and then he was like, move forward. Like he's like, I'm not doing that.
I think the only person that seemed like rushed or like they were confused why they were there is when Todd Howard went to go accept the Fallout TV show award,
Yeah.
and they let Todd Howard do all the talking. They have the actress Ella, I forget what her last name is,
Yeah.
but Lucy from the show. She was there and she didn't say a word, and it was just like you dragged because they're shooting Fallout right now, so they
Yeah.
like dragged her from set to be there just to stand
To
next
be
to Todd Howard.
to be arm candy.
Yeah, and Todd Howard isn't the creator of Fallout. He's
Right.
just the guy who owns the keys right now
Yeah.
to Fallout and had very little to do with the show as far as I
That
know.
big dude. First of all, the other thing too. I mean, I'll get this little crap out of the way in general. Todd Howard is a small person.
It was funny when the first guy stood up.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Because he just looked like big Todd Howard because they have the same kind of hair. And
Yeah,
stuff like
but
that.
I meant even like when he was on stage at the beginning with Troy Baker, I was like, because I've never had an interview or a conversation with Troy Baker, but I feel like I've been in the same room as him, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I vaguely know how tall Troy Baker is, like in my mind.
Yeah.
I had a mental image, and I'm like, Todd Howard is very small. Like,
But Troy Baker is probably like
6'2", 6'3".
6'2".
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things where you see how short some of these people are.
Yeah,
It's just kind
I'm
of funny.
tall. I'm taller than Troy Baker, but not like I was not a lot taller. So
Dave likes to anytime.
no,
Dave
it's
talks about
eye
The Last of
contact.
Us,
Sometimes I don't have to look down.
you
so.
have to mention it. You're like, he's a fantastic actor. I'm taller than him,
Hey, he makes a lot more money than I do. So.
but you're taller than him.
Yes,
Dave.
that is. Well, not if his hair's up. So
Yeah, not if his hair is up and he's wearing some fancy shoes. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. Like I feel like they actually delivered announcements this time.
yeah, for sure.
And like you said, it went quicker than it felt usually. It wasn't 4 hours.
No, it was
It was-
8. It was what I mean. I
7 to 10.
well, yeah,
It was 3
7:30.
hours.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, for you 7 to 10. You know, the there was actually some decent stuff in that little half-hour show before.
Yeah.
And then the 8 o'clock Eastern time, and it was done at I think like 11:02, so or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So
So it was pretty good. But let's be honest, most of us are here for the Game Awards for the announcements. I think I'm 50-50. I do like seeing the award stuff, even though sometimes the awards frustrate me.
I feel like I could say 80% of the time what was going to win as they were listing it.
Yeah, I would say the only one that shocked me was the Game of the Year, the last one.
Yeah.
That's the only one. But if I can logic my way to that choice.
Yeah, I mean, we can start with that if you want, but I mean, I think it was the community. Because what percentage of the community votes on that part? Do you remember?
It's not the full. It's like 20 to 30%.
Yeah, but I think that there was. We talked about it a little bit, but there, a couple weeks ago. But I think that was them sending a message that you can't do DLC for Game of the Year.
What I also think it's a couple things. So Astrobot won Game of the Year, is what we're talking about. I think it's Astrobot's a great game. It's my leader for Game of the Year, though there's still a couple games I need to play this year. So I think it super deserves it. But I wasn't expecting it to go. I was expecting it to go to like Wukong.
I thought Bealtro would win
or-
just based on what it was doing that tonight, like just on what it was
Yeah.
winning. I was like, okay, wow, this
Yeah.
thing's carrying some stuff.
Yeah, and also it would have been a big thing for like the Game Awards to like have the first Chinese developer
Yeah,
win a Game of the Year award for just reasons. But was one of those things where I think it's reflective of like the year we had. I have a feeling a lot of people that did vote in the media probably weren't going to go with DLC
right.
as their winner. A lot of them weren't going to go with a remake, especially like I feel like fans were more likely to vote for like Final Fantasy VII remake than the media would have voted for Final Fantasy VII
Yeah.
remake. So those two I immediately they were canceled out for me. So
Yeah.
I think it came down to Wukong, Metaphor, and Astrobot. And unfortunately, when it comes to like Metaphors, it's still a JRPG, which means it's a niche audience. So it came down to Astrobot and Wukong for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Those
that
two, you
PlayStation
put those two
policy-
head to head, Astrobot wins.
yeah,
Just-
and I
it's
think that's what
just
it came
more.
down to.
It's just more approachable.
Because if you go back to Wukong's review scores, it reviewed well, but it wasn't like, holy shit, this is a revolution.
Yeah.
And Astrobot was like, oh my god, this is a fresh of, this is.
Yeah, it was
fresh breath.
essentially like the rhetoric you were hearing amongst people was Sony found a Mario.
Yeah, and it
So-
was just like it was going on that nostalgia.
Not that they
30-year
found one, but Sony got their Mario, like in terms of like
Yeah.
their precision platformer or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, they had something that they've been looking for a while. It's the 30th anniversary of PlayStation. It hit all the right notes for a lot of fans, including myself. So it just kind of makes sense. And also, if you just want to talk about a highly polished game,
Mm-hmm.
Astrobot is one of the most polished games you could get this year. You know, like I didn't really run into too many glitches and like
Right.
bugs and stuff like that. The music's on point. It won Best Game Direction. Like there's a lot of reasons Astrobot deserved that win. So like I'm not surprised, but I am also surprised because I thought it would just go to Wukong.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like that's where the night was kind of pointing. Other award winners, Dave, if we just want to go through a couple of them. So best action game, Wukong won there. Best RPG went to Metaphor Refantazo. Balatro won like any award that had indie
Yeah.
in it. So it and then Astro won best action adventure. So like I think this is the first year that it was pretty.
Well, and
even
Astro, I'm
where-
sorry, Astro won Best Family Game too, which I think was significant
Oh,
for the
yes.
voting. But that was
Yeah.
earlier before the show, I think. Or
Yeah, it was. I think
yeah.
I don't remember seeing that.
Yep.
I skipped the pre-show.
yeah,
after
yeah,
like
yeah.
10
I
minutes.
had it on for. I think we
Yeah.
we were eating dinner or something.
I think this is the first year that a lot of the nominees for Game of the Year won their categories they should have won that they were nominated in, and usually the Game Awards kind of doesn't do a good job at that. Where like the Game of the Year will lose like 3 or 4 other categories that you're like,
Yeah.
how did it lose and still
Yeah.
win Game of the Year? And I think that's also because the nominees this year were from each different genres, so they didn't really compete against themselves, and they didn't really have too much competition in their like respective genres. Helldivers 2 won best multiplayer game. It won I think best ongoing game, I
Yes.
believe.
Yep.
Or hold on, let me pull. Yeah, best ongoing game. It's funny though. It winning best ongoing game's kind of ironic because of the issues it had with like PR stuff, with like the PSN stuff kind of derailing the momentum Helldivers 2 had. Like I would feel like Helldivers 2 probably should have been nominated for Game of the Year this year, especially with, you know, DLC being up there and a remake being up there. But I do think like they kind of got beat down a little too much from, you know, all the PSN controversy and then just kind of losing momentum. But yeah, any surprises that you saw from any of the winners?
Nothing crazy. So I mean, still getting over cold. Sorry. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing ridiculous. Nothing. I felt like nothing came out of left field. Like I was sometimes had a prediction. I'd be like, oh, it's either this or this, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm like, okay, you know, nothing that I ever felt like annoyed by or anything.
Yeah, Xbox at least saw some wins with Hellblade 2, which I
Mhm.
think Hellblade 2 won in the categories it should have won in. Especially, you know, we're talking about like best performance, and then I think audio design. I believe they also won for there. So yeah, seems like a pretty spread. It would seem like a weird year. Like Super Mario Party and Zelda were the only things I think they were
Yeah.
nominated in like 2 categories, which I'm not used to seeing from Nintendo. I'm used to seeing them kind of sprinkled throughout the show. But it was kind of a down year for Nintendo. You know, as good as those games, as good as Zelda was, I don't think Mario Party this year was very good. But yeah, Balatro, I'm just more excited to play it. I bought a physical copy of it like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't put it in the Switch yet.
Mhm.
But I need to get that game started soon because everyone keeps talking about it.
Mhm.
Dave, what did you think of Content Creator of the Year and Best Esports Athlete?
I don't know who they are. So
I know. One day, Dave, you'll know who they are and you'll hate it. Because I know who they are and I hate it. All right, but let's talk about some of the announcements that were presented, revealed here. A lot of like really good ones.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna miss some because I did miss the pre-show. The only one that I did see from the pre-show that I remember is we have a new Ninja Gaiden coming.
Mhm.
And this is a side-scrolling Ninja Gaiden, and it's coming from .emu. So if you want someone to take the Ninja Gaiden
Yeah.
IP and do retro, it's .emu, who did the Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah.
Dave, I'm assuming you saw this and were like,
I mean, it's
Pretty stoked.
side scrolling fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to find the name of the game. I'm trying to go through Wario stuff, but some of these like timelines are just ridiculously long after 3 hours. But there was a game, like a trailer that had like a. I mean, the only way to describe it is like a Pac-Man little character with him. But
yeah, its secret level Pac-Man episode is getting turned into a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
So there is a Pac-Man side-scrolling dark fantasy game coming.
yeah, that looked interesting in terms of just like the side-scrolling Metroidvania genre
Shadow
that I enjoy.
Labyrinth.
Yeah, that I enjoy. I really liked that during the pre-show. I was like, at first I'm like, okay, this looks cool, just vibrant colors, side-scrolling platformer, and I'm like, is that a Pac-Man thing? I was like,
Yes.
is that Pac-Man?
Is that Pac-Man?
Yeah, that's like,
Yeah, I did see a trailer for that afterwards, and I was very confused. I thought it was a meme thing, but I guess it's
Mhm.
based off the Secret Level TV show
Mhm.
that just came out that kind of came and went. So yeah, that was most of the big stuff from the pre-show that I can remember that really like popped. We also got a new Turok game, which is pretty cool. So it's coming back as like a co-op dinosaur hunting game. So a lot of people that saw Exo Primo last year, who were like, we want Turok. Here you go, you have Turok. It's not quite Dino Crisis, but Turok's coming back, which makes sense. They remastered the first 3 Turok games, and everyone's kind of been waiting to see what they do next.
yeah.
So I don't know if you saw anything for Turok, Dave, or were you a fan of Turok?
Not really, but
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people that like it. So
Yeah, Turok's one of those things where like I don't really like killing dinosaurs for whatever reason. I feel bad for the dinosaurs when I kill them because they're cute and cuddly. But
what about the next game from Sifu developer, that online soccer game? Is that going to get you to play some soccer?
I want to lie to you and say yes because I like Sifu, but it probably won't get me to like it.
In my opinion, it's actually kind of probably a very unique or easy way to use their engine. It's a fighting engine, right? Like it's a fighting
It's a
game.
beat 'em up.
A beat 'em
fighting,
up,
okay.
and now you're going to be kicking soccer balls. Like in terms of like the core foundation of the engine that they made with Sifu, and then doing something different, I think it's kind of cool. It gave me a little bit of Rocket League vibe in terms of like the look.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
like
and so
it
there's
could take off
potential.
that way.
If this is like a 3-minute soccer game, though, like if this is kind of like turns into like your Tetris 99 thing of where it's easy to, you're not losing attention, you're not getting bored, and then win or lose, the game's over. Something cool happens, and then you just load into another game. Like I think it's possible that it has some legs.
Yeah, no, it definitely could. It's so hard to like get excited about these sort of games sometimes because it's just like you really need it to take off to be popular enough to like build a community. So we'll see how that goes. I do think the Sifu developers are great at what they do, so them trying this out could be interesting. But I think I need to see a little bit more than what we saw in the trailer
Yeah.
to figure out like match length, how deep is it, that sort of thing.
I will say there was something I was disappointed in of just the Sonic Racing teaser.
It was nothing. There was like no point to that
Right.
trailer. It felt.
Yeah. As I'm going through this article that you sent me, it's kind of
Yeah.
like I'm coming across that, and I'm like, okay, cool. You have Shadow. Duh. Shadow's coming
No
in Sonic 3. We already know this. So, and then the Yakuza stuff, I'm starting to get a little worried that this studio might be doing a little bit too much. They might be oversaturating.
They might be oversaturating, but there's something about their style, and specifically this one, Project Century, which is just like, yo, here's a Yakuza game in 1915, which the Yakuza games have done the thing where they have gone into the past. Inshin is like in feudal Japan time, I believe. So Project Century, like just off the visuals alone, I was like, hell yeah. Like it was one of those trailers, 2 seconds into seeing the trailers before even seeing the RGG Studios name. I was just like, oh shit, a new Yakuza game that takes place back in the old days. I haven't seen signs that the wheels are coming off just yet.
No.
Yeah.
People love it. Like,
Yeah.
They love it, love it, love it. So I'm not saying anything bad about it. I just feel like in the last 12 months, there's different Yakuza games like the beach one, the
Yeah.
pirate one. This, there's a lot. So,
Yeah, and I think this one they said is like 2 years away, which is good.
yeah.
Because they have one coming out in January or February, the pirate one. This looked really good. The visuals on their stuff looks fantastic. I love the setting, kind of doing different things, especially it allows them to break away from characters, because they're jumping to different time periods.
Right.
This thing looked fantastic. I was really excited about this because, like, I will admit, I'm kind of getting a little tired of the current set of Like a Dragon Yakuza games,
Yeah.
just because, like you said, they've been coming pretty rapidly. But I'm not tired. Like, I feel like I'm getting fatigued from those characters,
Okay.
not from like the gameplays in the world.
Maybe
So,
maybe that's what I'm seeing, because I'm seeing the same
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, you're seeing the same two guys basically for like the last like 5 or 6
Yeah.
games. So pulling away from those characters, I think, is going to be very helpful. And the game just looked gorgeous. But yeah, we also got some Virtual Fighter trailer, which was just kind of teasing a showcase coming tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll see what's going on. It's been a while since there's been a Virtual Fighter game. Honestly, the last Virtual Fighter game I played wasn't a Yakuza game. So like it's
Yeah.
been a while.
And then we got a Borderlands 4 trailer again, or a trailer.
Yeah.
I'm starting to worry about this. I'm starting to kind of get a little concerned that this franchise might have jumped the shark. Like,
I honestly, Dave, I feel like I've felt like that for the last 10 years.
I know I
with
enjoyed
Borderlands.
3. I really enjoyed 2. Like really, really, really enjoyed 2. 3 was okay. This looks like I think my wife was watching with me during the time, and I was just like, it becomes more about the sandbox than it does about the story and the characters. And that is something that's a direction that I personally don't enjoy. So like I don't like, yes, it's funny that a gun shoots hamburgers or something. Like that's funny, that's hilarious. But at the same time, it still needs to be a first person shooter. Like
Yeah, the trailer just gave me vibes of like, oh, you don't think your shit stinks sort of vibes to it, of like, you think you're a bigger franchise than you actually are. So it is one of those instances where I'm like watching this trailer and I'm just like, yeah, I feel like they lost the thread in terms of like what makes a good Borderlands game. I also, you want to talk about not having someone be your pitchman.
yeah.
Every time I see Randy Pitchford, I'm just kind of like, we need someone else to be the face of this franchise.
Yeah.
Because I just kind of cringe because of all the stories we've heard about him. Just his presentation skills are kind of low, like cheesy jacket with the number 4 on it. Like, you got to find someone to be the face of that franchise, or you just don't have a face for the franchise because you have characters from this franchise that you could just be in a trailer.
Heck, he did it for a whole bunch of other stuff. Let Keeley announce it and show the trailer.
Yeah, and then have a narrator from one of the
Yeah.
characters. Don't have Randy Pitchford talking for more than 2 seconds or talking at all. We got Final Fantasy 16 character coming to Tekken 8. That's fine. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is officially coming to PC. This was announced as they accepted the award for best soundtrack
Yep.
or best music, which makes me wonder, like, did they have a backup plan if they didn't win best music? But I know everyone knows they're going to win awards before they win it most of the time.
Yeah.
So, Last of Us Part 2 is coming to PC in March or April. I was worried this was going to be the only PlayStation announcement, to be completely honest, at a certain point.
I was like, oh, that's why Naughty Dog's at the Game Awards.
Yeah, they're just here for a basic announcement. We got a trailer for Outer Worlds 2, which is apparently coming next year, which Obsidian is releasing the Avowed at the beginning of the year. Apparently this is coming out at the end of the year. They released like 3 games in the last 2 years.
And it had a PS5 logo on it.
Yes, and it had a PS5 logo on it. It looks fun. It looks a lot like
Another
Outer Worlds 1.
game that's about the sandbox, not about the story. Like,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
fine. It's just not my thing. I looked at it. I'm like, that looks fun to play, and I feel like I'd play it for like 3 or 4 hours, and then I would stop playing it.
I got about 3/4 of the way through the first Outer Worlds, and I didn't finish it, and it was not to the game's fault. I just kind of drifted away. Um, I will say that the trailer was pretty cheeky and had some fun. It said like this game took 3 times as long to develop, and it's only going to be twice as big. That's funny. But I didn't see anything that seemed different. It definitely feels like this might not be like a full sequel sort of thing, or like it definitely like they say it's going to be bigger, but it didn't feel like a brand new game for whatever reason. But I don't know if that's just me thinking how much work Obsidian's doing and how much they can actually commit to a single game right now. Because you want to talk about RGG spreading themselves thin with the Yakuza games. I feel like Obsidian is definitely spreading themselves pretty thin with the Outer World or all their projects.
I agree.
Yeah. Capcom had quite a few announcements this show. We have Capcom. They're bringing back Onimusha, which is pretty cool. Like PS2 franchise coming back. Makes sense because I believe they did release like a Netflix anime adaptation earlier this year or last year, unless I'm completely wrong. Not much shown there. Looks pretty cool. Looks like a, beat 'em up Souls like game. So there was a little bit there to go off of. Did you see that trailer?
I think I might have missed that one. So
okay, yeah, not much. It was pretty like cutscene like trailer. Then we got the new Joseph Fares game. This is the developer of Takes-Two, a former Game of the Year winner at the Game Awards. He has another co-op game called Split Fiction that is coming on March 6th. This, Dave, you saw this presentation, I'm assuming, because it did take a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought of this trailer, because I don't know how I felt exactly.
I thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
Angela and I did play It Takes Two together a little bit. She's not very good at games, which I think is why she texted you, or if she did or didn't text you during the Video Game Awards, that I was like picking on her about something.
I'm not sure.
But the fact that it comes with like the friend code thing too, where you can buy the game once and send a code to a friend and play, I think is a great marketing way. Same thing. It seems to be him and his studio knows what their lane is, and they're staying in their lane. It looks interesting enough to me that I would like to check it out. And this is probably a $30 game, $40 game.
Yeah. So for this one, I feel like what was shown was interesting enough to me, but this was an instance where I think the presentation for it was bad. I know people really, or like Jeff Keighley really likes this guy's personality. Something about it kind of like grinds my gears for whatever reason. But I feel like he didn't do the game justice when he was kind of explaining the trailer. I feel like the trailer could have spoke for itself pretty well. It did need his narration kind of giving a simplified view of what we were seeing. Because I ended up just kind of laughing at some of the stuff that he was describing as opposed to just enjoying the visuals that were on the screen. Like I didn't need a narration to be like, and you can play a little ball and you can do this and you can kick ass. And I was just like, I don't need this. But I know the game industry loves his personality, so
yeah. But I think his after It Takes Two and the Prison Break one, I can't think of that name. No, A Way Out, and now this. Like, there's a certain point in time where your product can do a better job of speaking and marketing than you can, and you've created that. You've done a phenomenal job of creating that. Let your game do its job, and then if there's confusion, then you can try to reestablish and reconnect. But I think that, it was trying to make it a little bit more about him. And I get it. He's, he did the cursing on the Game Awards and all that stuff.
Oscars,
yeah.
All that stuff. Yeah.
But the part about him, like showing his family and inspiration, like that's cool. But
that's cool. Yeah. I like
but
that.
the other stuff, like let the game, let your team show off what they did. Because what they did looks awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's what it was. It felt like it undercut it. Like I didn't mind the presentation before the trailer rolled, and I didn't mind the presentation after the trailer rolled where he showed his family. That's like sweet, and it's good to see from the devs. But it was the narration during the trailer that I'm just like, this game looks awesome. Let the game do the talking. So I don't know. This seemed unnecessary. Then later on in the show, we got Dispatch, which is a narrative dialogue-driven game that features Jeffrey Wright, Aaron Paul, Laura Bailey, a couple YouTubers, Matt Mercer. This basically is just like you play like 911 operators, but instead of dispatching police, you dispatch superheroes, and you can see if they were successful or failed when you dispatch them. Very cartoon style. I thought it was an Invincible game for a little bit because one of the characters looked like they were from Invincible, but it isn't. But this is like a star-studded cast of like voice actors and like Hollywood actors. This looked really cool. I don't know if this is a Dave style game, but this definitely might be a my style game.
I had to see some more of it, I think.
Yeah. Then we got a trailer for Mafia: The Old Country. It is coming out summer 2025. This was one of the trailers they were kind of hyping up the last week or so, and the trailer just kind of it was okay. It wasn't anything too crazy.
It's Mafia
for this. Yeah, this is Mafia. They're in Italy. They're in the Old Country. There wasn't much there. I was kind of expecting to see more. But yeah. Then we got probably one of the first things that like really got me excited, and that was Ueda, the creator of Shadow of the Colossus, Ico, Last Guardian. He revealed his new studio and a new game called Project, or codenamed Project Robot, and definitely had some Shadow of the Colossus feel to it because you're just climbing on a giant robot mecha. And there's some crazy zombie death horde thing coming at you. Very stylistic, but just seeing the name and creator of those games have a new game was pretty awesome. Did you play Last Guardian?
No, I think I have it like through Plus or something like that, but I have not played it. I played Shadow Colossus like a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Shadow Colossus is one of my like favorite games, especially during that PS2 era. I still need to play the Blue Point remaster. I didn't get around to that, but I remember loving that on the PS2 and PS3. But yeah, this was one of the announcements that Keighley like queued up and was like kind of emotional that he was going to announce it, and I think justifiably so, especially for how long Keighley's been in the industry. Ueda is one of those creators that you would get excited to have a trailer for, to be able to like work with to present. Then we got this was from earlier in the show, but I guess the article I pulled grabbed from least important to most important by their judgment. We got Elden Ring Night Rain, which is a standalone co-op spinoff of Elden Ring. So this looks like it's a 3-player co-op game, and it is a condensed map from Elden Ring, and it's infested with random enemies and structures that you start out each game session for, and this is going to be out next year. I have no idea how to feel about this game. Like, I was very confused while watching the trailer.
I think the emphasis on co-op is weird.
Yes, because there's always been co-op.
Yeah, but the emphasis on it, like right off the bat, leads me to believe that it might be like the thing that immediately concerns me about when you talk about up to 3 or up to 2 more is, do you have to play this with at least 2? Because sometimes in co-op games you can get away with playing as 1. You know, sometimes the experience isn't necessarily as great, but you can get away with it. When you're going to allow a team of 3, it's very hard to balance it to 1, and then or to make it not seem underbalanced for 2. So that's a very dangerous part. And then I guess ultimately, how do you feel about more Elden Ring?
I wouldn't mind if it was like a DLC sort of thing, but there's something about this trailer when I was watching it where like the fidelity of the graphics looked of lower quality that almost made me think this was a mobile game, or this is making me think that this is like the parent company Kadokawa being like, hey, get your B team ready because they're going to be making a standalone multiplayer game. It just I don't know. There's something about like the visuals of the game, and then just trying to figure out like if it is mostly just a co-op experience that could be fun, but that's not really what From Software fans are going to that game creators for.
Right.
So just slapping Elden Ring on it just feels like a hat on a hat. You know, like if it was really the From Software team, which it very well could be, I feel like all you have to say is here's a game from the From Software people. But this is like, hey, we took a chunk of the map from Elden Ring and made like a spin-off game that looks kind of lower quality
Yeah.
for it. And you can't say like, oh, it's lower quality because, you know, there's co-op now. It's like the quality didn't dip when you had your friend jump into your world or had people invade your world. So
Right.
like adding an extra person coming into your world, I feel like doesn't mean you're going to lower your quality. And also you had like the full reign of the entire world when your friend jumped into your game or whatever in Elden Ring. So like the idea that this is only a small section of that huge map just seems weird. This whole thing was weird. And then it's coming out next year. It took us how many years to get like the DLC expansion, and then they're pumping out this thing shortly after the expansion comes out. This seems
Looks like it was cut
I
from
don't
the
wanna say-
expansion.
yeah, potentially. It just feels like I don't want to say a cash grab because it's too soon, but it
Right.
definitely does seem like this feels like a parent company being like, "Hey, we need you to produce more stuff."
Especially when
because
they're
you
in the
take too
middle of
long.
trying to be purchased.
Yeah, and this would be one of those things where like if this goes wrong, you know, From Software is going to be like, "You're fucking up this deal."
Hmm.
Like you put blood on our hands. We put out something subpar. It's going to look bad on you guys trying to sell us. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I need to see significantly more. I need to know if it's actually coming out next year, like if it has, like how soon next year, sort of thing. The next thing, which I think got the thing, Dave won't be surprised that I was super excited about this, but The Witcher 4 trailer.
This looks amazing.
Fantastic trailer.
It said undisclosed GPU though. Did you see that?
Yes, I did see that. Yeah. And Keeley did say we're not just talking about next year, we're talking about the future,
Yeah.
years down the road. So like
Well,
this
I
is
mean, we
going
just
to be
found
years
out
down
that
the
this
road.
was in active development. Like we we
Yes.
found out Witcher 4 was officially in active development about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. Like
yeah,
it was
pre-production the last 2 years,
Yeah.
basically.
and so obviously I think they've completely moved away from Cyberpunk for the most part, I believe, right? I think that they're
I believe they're working on a sequel now. They're not doing like their multiplayer.
but that sequel is going to
expansion.
come out after Witcher 4.
Yeah, most likely.
So, I mean, if I had to guess right off the bat, this is the earliest 2028.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But
4
it looked
years.
amazing. It looked so
And remember,
good.
They this is Unreal Engine 5, and they did move to Unreal Engine 5 to make development a little bit easier for
Right.
them.
Maybe holiday 27 then. Maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, the trailer featured Geralt doing the voiceover, and it was centered around Ciri, and you are playing Ciri. She is going to be your main protagonist for this game, which I think is the right choice. Because the Geralt story is pretty much over. So moving on to Ciri, a younger character, just makes sense. And she just looked badass in this
Yeah,
trailer. This was
yeah.
such a good trailer. No gameplay, maybe some hints of gameplay in how they did some of the movement.
Yeah, or hints of
but this-
abilities.
Yeah. This was just fantastic. I can't wait for this. I love the Witcher franchise, and I'm glad to see them move on. And also Geralt did the narration stuff, so it's like it doesn't mean he's going to be gone from the fourth game completely. You know,
Right.
we'll get something from him.
I might just narrate from his hot tub.
Yeah, it could be that. It's funny though, like when the trailer first hit and they showed someone jumping into like a little tub, I was like, fucking Witcher, here we go. And
Yeah.
there's so many trailers that I saw where I would just see a little hint of something and I was able to shout out what that was. I'm probably the worst person to watch the Game Awards with. And then towards the end of the show, which was supposed to be the last announcement, but they did hit us with one more thing after this. We got Okami 2 being unveiled officially. so yeah, Okami, we're getting a sequel. This is another Capcom announcement. They had some beautiful music playing along with it, and a very brief artistic teaser trailer. And Kamiya, I think I say his name, Kamiya, the original director, the director of Resident Evil 2, Beautiful Joe Okami, is coming back to develop this game with their new studio, and obviously working with Capcom.
Yeah.
So this is an OG coming. Keeley did get emotional with this announcement too, and again, this was one of those ones where his emotions were justified because he's he's been in industry for a long time, and this is like one of the greats coming back and working on a beloved franchise. I don't know what you do with Okami 2,
Yeah.
or what they called it, Okami sequel right now, but it was pretty cool to see.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, Okami came out when I was still on like my Nintendo stuff and GameCube stuff, so I didn't really. It's always been on my list. I think it's actually something I might own on. I think I own it on PlayStation in some capacity, but I'll have to check it out still. So
it was they remastered it to every console since the PS2, so it's been on PS3, PS4, and playable PS5 backwards compatibility. But yeah, definitely, it's a Zelda-like game. Beautiful art style. I can't wait to see what they do with this art style on like modern hardware with modern 4K HDR art. It's going to look gorgeous. Capcom seems to really know what they're doing the last couple years, which has been great to see. Because before they started to pump out the Resident Evil remakes, Capcom was one of those companies that you're just like, what are they going to fucking do?
Yeah.
And they definitely have turned it up. All right, Dave, the big announcement, the And One More Thing announcement. We got a trailer for Naughty Dog's new game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. This is the sci-fi game that Naughty Dog's been teasing for so long. The leaks of a sci-fi game being worked on. Neil Druckmann is going to be directing it. They got Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross to do the soundtrack. And this game just oozed style, like product placement that was tasteful. It's 80s sci-fi. Just looks really fucking cool.
Yeah. Porsche, a Porsche ship, Sony Walkman, or Sony radio.
Walkman,
yeah, Walkman
I think
radio.
Adidas shoes on it. Yeah, CD player, CD changer in a spaceship. Definitely a cool look. I think
it's important that it actually said actively in development for PS5. It didn't say actively in development for PlayStation. It said PS5. I think this is a little closer because this has been worked on since 2020. I could potentially see, depending, I mean, with the lineup of Wolverine, this could probably be spring 26.
I can see that. I can see 26 at the.
They like to bring out that game in like May and June. That's been Naughty Dog's like forte.
Yeah, I can see that at the earliest. I don't think this would be a next year game,
No.
But 26 I feel like is reasonable. And then Naughty Dog Tax, I could see it be 27, 28 sort of thing. But yeah, you're playing as a bounty hunter. It looks like this is going to be like an action adventure game, but like with hand-to-hand like weapon combat. You did have like a cool saw lightsaber sort of weapon. It's one of those things where this was also a trailer that as soon as I saw the character's eyeballs, I was like, that's a Naughty Dog game. Just because they do have a very distinct art style with like the eyes and the mouth sort of thing. But the product placement in any other trailer would have bothered me, but Naughty Dog just has a style that they made all of that work. And I was okay with, because I feel like if any other studio to try to do any of the things that we saw, it would have been like, oh, they're just doing like an 80s nostalgia.
I can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning and see somebody like breaking down every like 3 seconds of this trailer with like the news articles on the wall and like what they mean, like people that are way more passionate than I am about this stuff, but like what the symbol on the back of her jacket meant, like what you know what the shape of the planet meant, like or whatever that was. Like I can't wait for some people to really start breaking that down, similar to when they first kind of teased us about Last of Us, where people were like, "This is like a cordyceps," like they or whatever.
Yeah.
They were talking about the bug, and just smarter people than I am taking their science and their ideas and then showing it what this video game is going to be about. Because by about this time tomorrow, we're probably going to have the foundation of the story allegedly built just by the gaming community of people that break down trailers.
Yeah, so there is a PlayStation blog article.
I read that, yeah.
Yeah, so just the quick rundown. Intergalactic stars our newest protagonist, Jordan A. Munn, a dangerous bounty hunter who ends up stranded on Semperia, a distant planet whose communication with the outside universe went dark hundreds of years ago. In fact, anyone who's flown to it hoping to unravel its mysterious past was never heard from again. Jordan will have to use her skills and wits in hopes to be the first person in over 600 years to leave its orbits. So I'm assuming that's why we have a lot of like old technology that they're using and stuff like that, because there's something going on where technology is only able to move forward so much, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, just hearing about like Trent Reznor being on a soundtrack, it just kind of made sense when you're starting to listen to the music in it. But this was a trailer that only showed a little glimpse of potential gameplay, but everything else was style, and it was really good style. And I feel like Naughty Dog has enough leeway of like trust of like, okay, they can deliver the substance with the style. It's just a matter of how long they're going to take for it. And they need a win. They need a win.
Yeah.
PlayStation needs a win. They did win Game of the Year with Astrobot, but they need some games to release, and this looked great.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this was the highlight of the show for me. Like Intergalactic definitely was like a showstopper reveal. I was worried because they kind of loaded the first probably half hour of the Game Awards with like really good trailers.
Yeah.
And then the middle was kind of like, oh, there hasn't been like a really
I mean, they started with like Witcher 4. I was like, okay, this is your start. Like,
yeah,
I was like, that's when I was like I was like watching. I'm like, oh, they're gonna, it'll be a new Resident Evil or something like that, and I was like, okay, this is Witcher, like this is CD Projekt Red, and then they kind of kept going, and they're like, oh, we got the guy that does It Takes Two. I'm like, okay, of course he's there, but then
Elden Ring, we're gonna just announce an Elden Ring thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they just at the end, it was just like, yo, here's Ueda, here's Okami, here's Naughty Dog.
And this is kind of where I feel like we talked about at the beginning of the show, like maybe I mean this in the nicest way possible. Maybe people are annoyed with the video game awards, but now the developers are seeing like this is our gateway of getting stuff out to shareholders, to people that we want to work, and there's enough people to watch this. I mean, the numbers on YouTube or Twitch were staggering today. So
yeah, I think when I first started on the YouTube stream, it was like 800,000 people are watching this, and the number just kept growing.
Yeah, I think when Angela went to lay down, I think she put it on in the bedroom, and I think she said she saw like 1.3, 1.4.
Yeah, and that was just on one platform.
Yeah,
because they were going on Twitch as well. But yeah, one thing I did notice, not to do that, like there was no Nintendo announcements. Which makes sense.
They had some kind of Switch commercial though, or something like that. There was something.
Yeah, they had a Switch commercial showing like some highlights, but there were no Nintendo announcements, which just makes sense because the only thing coming is Donkey Kong Country Returns or whatever, and then got me coughing.
Yeah.
And then Metroid Prime.
Right.
Like those are the only things coming, and they're not ready to show it. So that's a little disappointing not to really see anything.
Oh, they're radio silent because they're trying to figure out how the right time to announce the next Switch.
Yeah, which wasn't going to be here. And then Xbox just had Outer Worlds 2. Hellblade took some wins, which was good, and they had the little Indiana Jones moment in the beginning. But it definitely, I don't know, me looking too into it, but like when Astrobot won Game of the Year and they passed Cerny and then they passed Phil Spencer, and Phil Spencer is just sitting there, I was just like, he's got to just be tired of seeing PlayStation just kind of walk away with like the big awards.
Well, then he's got to figure his cadence out because based on what I'm seeing, when he has something good, he releases it in December.
Yeah.
And people are liking Indiana Jones. People are loving Indiana Jones. Like, could you have not gotten this out in October? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, could you or held it at
Or
this
could
point in
you
time
have-
until February, March? Like,
Or because you know how things work, you could have probably gotten review copies out sooner.
yeah,
Because I'm sure the votes for the Game Awards were locked in like a month ago.
right.
To where like you could have done something like that. But it was definitely weird just not seeing much from Nintendo, award wise, trailer wise, and then Xbox just really didn't have anything outside of Hellblade for them.
Mm-hmm.
The show and Outer Worlds 2. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, I hope this is enough motivation for Phil Spencer to figure out his shit with Xbox because
Yeah.
they have potential. They just haven't used it. And PlayStation, as much as shit as we've been giving PlayStation the last like 2 years, of like, where are your games? Guess what? 2 years have passed. They haven't released games, which means we're getting ready to go into that run again where their studios are going to start having stuff ready. And then we're going to have like probably a 3-4 year sprint where PlayStation's going to have like, potentially like 2 or 3 games a year that are all like game of the year contenders based on their pedigree. So I'm just saying, Xbox, you have a small window still to get in there, but like you could have taken so much advantage of this downtime for PlayStation, and guess what? PlayStation's just fucking gearing back up. And then also you have to deal with Grand Theft Auto coming out next year. So
Right.
like we're about to get to it, like Ghost is coming out for PlayStation. We're going to get this new game. Some screenshots released for Sony Ben's new game. So it's coming. Like PlayStation's going to be back in there, probably not next year, but the year after.
Yep. Not going to be too long before we start hearing leaks about Santa Monica's thing. Like,
Yep. Wolverine will be ready to go.
Yep.
Intergalactic is going to be ready to go. So come on, Xbox. You got to do something. But Dave, what would you grade this year's Game Awards? First one you've actually sat through.
A-, B+. Like, I mean, it was.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was really good. Like a 4 out of 5. 3
Yeah.
point. 3.5, 4 out of 5. It was solid. Only reason I probably dozed is because it's just late and I'm old.
You're still recovering from a cold too.
Yeah.
And you work today, so it makes sense. I would actually give this an A, and I'm usually pretty rough on the
Yeah.
Game Awards, but I think the cadence was pretty good. They had a nice flow. They actually did do a better job of giving out awards and letting developers talk,
Yep.
which was nice.
The Larian guy, man, just roasted him all. Like he was on like 3 minutes of just making fun of like last year.
Oh yeah. And the trailers, like enough of them were my kind of shit,
Yeah.
Sometimes in the Game Awards, I'm like looking for stuff like I can see why people like this, but like there's a lot of trailers this year, and I'm like, no, I like this.
Yeah.
And
I think even Angela said that. She's like, "There's a couple Michael games in here." I was like,
yeah, it was definitely had that going. We'll see how I feel about like when we see gameplay from Intergalactic, because like Naughty Dog doing a hand-to-hand combat weapon melee game.
I mean, Last of Us was kind of melee focused.
Yeah, but this is like
But yeah,
bombastic.
so. But I mean, we kind of said the same thing. We said the same thing about Naughty Dog doing a post-apocalyptic world from Uncharted, and they obviously they nailed it.
So we'll see what they can do. But yeah, overall, I think it was a really good fucking show.
Yeah,
I'm not disappointed tonight after the Game Awards. Like
no,
I
not at
usually
all. I'm actually happy. Most of the time, you and I would message back and forth after they were over, and you'd be like, "Yeah, not worth it." And then today, you're like, "Hey, are we still doing this?" Like, because there was some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." So, all right. That's the recap of the awards. Let us know what you think. That's going to be our episode for this week. And next week we'll have kind of a recap of like November, December news because we've missed a little bit with the holidays. And then we'll take our break for the rest of 2024. So I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya. All right.
I'm just calling it VGA. So.
So we just named